Welcome to Houston, Texas, USA. We like to say that we are the energy capital of the world, and perhaps in many ways that's true. Texas and the U.S. Gulf Coast are known for oil and gas. We have also become much, much more for a long time now. You will soon see why and judge for yourself who will be the energy leader in the decarbonized economy. My name is Alex Rozenfeld, and I'm the founder and managing director of Climate Impact Capital, a firm I created to specifically accelerate the energy transition and decarbonization of major international energy companies through a specific corporate venture as a service advisory and investment process. Energy. It is all around us in many more ways than we normally recognize. The electrons on our national grid, the gasoline and diesel in our vehicles, the aviation fuel used by the planes moving us around the world between the United States, Europe, Middle East, Asia, and of course, Australia. Energy is also embedded in the goods we buy, whether it's footwear or a Ferrari, or the food we eat. Energy is used to produce, transport, and refrigerate the global supply chain. Most importantly, as per the first law of thermodynamics, energy is neither destroyed nor wasted, but merely transformed. And a significant portion of the energy in our system is wasted to ourselves when it's transformed into CO2 or into heat. CO2 is a greenhouse gas, of course, that changes the climate of our planet. Energy is also available to us from sunlight, wind, and the water cycle around us, as well as the hot rocks in the earth, providing potential unlimited resource. These renewable resources are now becoming the fundamental building blocks of the energy transition and will be key to the future of the international energy flows in the decarbonized world economy. Let's start by leaving Houston and moving down the Houston Ship Channel as we've done in the last couple of minutes towards the Gulf of Mexico. As we flow down the bayou, we're seeing the integrated core of the largest petrochemical facilities in the world. These facilities not only process abundant oil, gas, and natural liquids from Texas, but from all around the world. One day, I hope this will be in the history books, and we will be in a decarbonized electricity and hydrogen economy with petrochemicals being used mostly for goods that are effectively recycled in the circular economy. Unfortunately, the energy transition is going to take time, and we will need to find better ways of utilizing our existing energy resources without CO2 emissions, and transforming export hubs like Texas City, which we see here, to green fuels and chemicals from the traditional products that they're shipping right now. One of the cleanest energy transition and export success stories in the U.S. has been LNG. And Shanghai LNG, which we're going to visit right now, is one of the largest LNG exporters in the U.S. They are also working on an important part of the energy transition. That part is reducing greenhouse gases along the whole value chain in natural gas and creating verified greenhouse gas accounting across the natural gas supply chain so they can sell low carbon intensity LNG and we can find our way eventually to blue and green products. This is critical to rewarding good asset management and investing in low greenhouse gas technology. What you may not know is that Texas is actually also very far along in the energy transition. We are by far the leader in the United States in wind generation and will soon be a leader in solar power as well. Let's take a look at the Roscoe Wind Farm with over 600 turbines you see here as the white dots, with installed capacity over 780 megawatts, enough for 260,000 homes, one of the biggest wind projects in Texas. And nearby wind farms make this close to 2 gigawatts. Texas also has land resources, not just for wind, but for biofuels as well. White Energy is one of the nation's largest ethanol producers. It operates 2 state-of-the-art ethanol production facilities, producing more than 250 million gallons of renewable biofuels. They will also soon be capturing and sequestering a majority of their CO2 emissions, making this a ultra-low carbon fuel. We now fly back to the coast to take a look at Freeport LNG and their natural gas treatment, liquefaction, and LNG terminal. LNG is an important fuel that substitutes for coal in many countries. reducing local air pollution and greenhouse gases. LNG still has a carbon footprint both when it's burned and its production. At this site, Freeport LNG and Talos Energy intend to develop a carbon capture and sequestration project by 2025 to store CO2 produced from this site and from other industrial sources. This LNG will then be shipped to either Europe or Asia as a low carbon energy source at a premium. So buckle up and let's get on a 14.5-hour direct flight to Doha, Qatar. Here, we're going to find some of the pre-energy transition mega projects. One of those, of many that are here, are the Pearl GTL project, taking advantage of the huge and inexpensive natural gas resources found in Qatar. They also have multiple LNG projects here as well. However, I do not think another GTL or LNG project would be approved here now, at least without major CCUS, or consideration of other opportunities such as ammonia. What we're more likely to see is further decarbonization within Qatar and other Middle Eastern countries. And as we hop across the water a bit, we're going to see one of those opportunities. This is the 1.2 gigawatt Noor Abu Dhabi solar park, which started in 2019 as the world's largest single solar project, and at the time also the world's cheapest solar power. This 8 square kilometer project has more than 3 million solar panels and produces enough power for 90,000 people. Today it counts as the number 6 plant by size in the world. Also, very important to note is that in 2021, the UAE formed a Japanese alignment and agreement in which the two countries agreed to accelerate the bilateral cooperation in the fields of fuel, ammonia, and carbon recycling. Remember, all this clean power, clean energy can lead to ammonia, which would be shipped as a green fuel. And this was reported as the first framework for international cooperation in the fields of ammonia. The UAE is in fact 30% exporter to Japan's crude, and so is a major partner for Japan. And this marks a significant partnership in bilateral green energy flows for the future between the two countries. ADNOC in the UAE further announced a world-scale blue ammonia plant facility in Abu Dhabi, driving the UAE's energy transition leadership. Blue ammonia is made from nitrogen, and blue hydrogen derived from natural gas with the carbon stored via CCS. Given very low power and natural gas costs in the region, and in even closer proximity to Asia than the USA, they will certainly have a major and significant role to play in the future of decarbonization and energy flows. Next on our list is going to be a 4-hour flight. We are not flying just to any part of the world. We're flying to India, and not to Bangalore, Delhi, but to a lesser known park, the Badla Solar Park. As we begin to arrive, consider this. This is the biggest solar park in the world. At over 2 gigawatts or 2,200 megawatts of power across 14,000 acres. Badla is the largest solar farm in the world to date. Indeed, India has several of the top 10 solar plants. And with its recent aspiration to become a major ethanol producer, in a further recent $75 billion US dollar commitment to clean energy and hydrogen by Reliance, a major company in India, India is on its way to becoming a global decarbonized fuel leader. So let's take a look again at the massive infrastructure surrounding the solar park, dwarfing in consideration any of the towns or cities around it. And you can only kind of see the full breadth of scale from space. This is really the future of deep decarbonization. So let's leave now India and fly another 14 hours to Australia. as we look at Australia, we're going to be going down and visiting Peaks Down mines. This is one of 7 mines owned by BHP Mitsubishi Alliance. And as you can see, Australia has huge solar resources and coastlines, but yet, coal and minerals have been a strong part of Australia's past and present. In fact, 70% of Australia's coal is exported, of which comes to about 70% of Australia's actual total energy exports, which equates to about $70 billion. This has been a growing industry in Australia over the last decade, and this industry will either find a way to decarbonize or it will become obsolete in the decarbonized world. There are certainly ways to decarbonize coal, and China is taking many of those routes, but that is not cheap. Coal cleanup not only has to do with greenhouse gases, but with local air pollution. And generally, most other projects are going to outperform coal in the coming years. But where Australia has been strong and is growing is in the LNG sector. The Pilbara LNG plants that we're about to visit are part of a large complex exporting natural gas and also at the forefront of using liquefied natural gas as a shipping fuel and another key export from Australia, iron ore. Being able to use clean fuels is certainly an opportunity for Australia. Being able to produce those clean fuels from solar and to be able to ship those clean fuels, perhaps refined ores in the future, is an opportunity that this part of Australia can take in a major way. So nearby, you will also find Gorgon Lng. This is operated by Chevron. Gorgon is a $70 billion LNG flagship. It was also meant to store about 80% of its carbon dioxide from the plant for around 4 million tons a year. This was a key part of the commitment to the Australian people and government to get this plant started. However, unfortunately, it has struggled with a number of technical issues around CO2 sequestration. And perhaps, unfortunately, I'd say, that is why we've been hearing a high level of skepticism in Australia about CCS projects. So going back to solar. Solar is a very large opportunity in Australia that has yet fully to materialize. And the Bungala solar project at 275 megawatts is still considered one of the largest. But Australia's global solar status and small projects just do not make sense given the solar opportunities here to decarbonize natural gas and export hydrogen and ammonia rather than coal and natural gas as liquids. Apparently, a couple of billionaires in Australia have the same idea and agree with that and have developed a solar export plan called the Asian Power Link. And we're going to see where that power link is meant to start in Darwin. They want to export 3,000 megawatts of power from Darwin via 2,800 miles of subsea cable to Southeast Asia and to Singapore. This mega project will be a first of its kind and bigger in many ways than anything else that has been envisioned, with another 7,000 megawatts to be used for Australians or for exports via LNG. So let's visit where that power line is going to go, surely an immense distance. And let's take a look at where it will finally land to Singapore, which is meant to be the ultimate destination. Singapore currently imports the vast majority of its power, whether in energy via LNG or from other sources. And Singapore, as many of you who have visited, is very proud of its clean environment and of its long-term thinking. So we're going to zoom in and take a look at the Singapore LNG project, which is a key part to bringing in clean fuels present into Singapore. In the future, we can think of that these types of facilities may become very different. There are certainly opportunities to take LNG import facilities, so the regas facilities, and to change them to bring in renewable ammonia or hydrogen. There's going to be cost to that, But those are opportunities that will certainly be cheaper than building out completely new infrastructure. And while Singapore is highly dependent on energy imports like LNG, the world's biggest importer of LNG as of 2021 is China, with many plants like Nanjing LNG, which we're about to visit. These plants are along its coast, and many more are expected in the coming years as the country grows. This import gas is hugely important. It's much cleaner in all aspects of China's coal industry, whether it's local or global pollution. But China is still building coal plants, and that's because LNG has been limited in some aspects, but it's also not the cheapest fuel, from its cost of production, the cost of natural gas, to the cost of shipping, to the cost of regas. That is why China has continued to grow its coal industry, and in fact has been building some of the biggest plants in the world. So we're going to visit one of those plants right now, the Shanghai Plant, which is China's biggest coal power plant with a planned output of 4,000 megawatts. Unfortunately, we can't quite see what the plant looks like or exact location. This is where our best guess is. But it is going to be one of the biggest and most important Chinese plants, and they continue to plan to build more. China, in the recent decades, has been building more coal plants inside China on an annual basis than the rest of the world combined coal production of power plants. And while coal is still 60% of the energy output of China, they are also building some of the world's largest solar plants, which we unfortunately have to fly over as we head to the coast. Indeed, there are expectations that renewable energy will be cheaper than coal in China within as short a period as 5 years. For our last stop, we head to the Nanjing Chemical Industrial Park, a major ammonia producer along the Yangtze River, where many of the major petrochemical producers are located. Fertilizer and the fertilizer supply chain is important to China's agriculture and food production. Ammonia here has historically been very dirty and based on coal. But even that is changing as Sinopec recently completed a CCS project for its ammonia and coal gasification plants. These types of CCS and further major hydrogen projects are all part of major companies like Sinopec's net zero 2050 goals. And Sinopec is the world's top refiner. So where Sinopec goes and where the Chinese government has goals, we will certainly see some major changes in their infrastructure as they're able to bring the capital and technology to bear. To end our journey today, let's take a SpaceX Starship powered by liquid methane and have a global view of our planet. We have seen how energy flows within and between countries. The massive traditional infrastructure, which includes refineries, coal plants, and global shipments of coal, oil, and LNG. But we have also seen the increasingly ambitious projects in CO2 sequestration, green fuels like ethanol and ammonia, and massive gigawatt-scale solar projects to provide the energy for the green fuels and traditional power for an electrified planet. The scale of the transition is immense, and the distances are huge. But the effort is not beyond our capabilities or beyond our capability to finance it. The costs of doing so are even greater. But we can achieve this if we work together as one. Thank you very much.